this, and we'll go ahead and turn it over to Coach.
Well, obviously, I know you guys got some, probably going to have a few questions. I'm not a brain surgeon, but I've been talking to them. So I don't know if that makes me any smarter over the last 2 weeks. So as you see with this, we'll talk about the status quo of the program here in a minute. But so I think it's important for you guys, for people to see me. I know I've walked into a few places to get tea and coffee, and people looked at me like they saw a ghost. I think, unfortunately, the word aneurysm maybe scared some people a few weeks ago. But my intent was to always be honest when asked questions. And we didn't find out until the morning of the VCU game. I was actually in an MRI tube all night for a couple hours. That was an interesting experience the night before the VCU game. So the first thing I want to do is thank our medical community, from people at everybody involved at University Health. I think we all know that if you've had an issue and you've had to go to an emergency room, it sometimes can take a while. But for me, I was able to get from CAT scan to MRI to MRA to angiogram and to diagnosis from some of the best doctors in the world that we're fortunate to have here within our network at University Hospital, in particular in our neurology department and the Mayfield Clinic. So that was much appreciated by me and myself and my family, because obviously time was of the essence, trying to figure out, should I be coaching a game? Should I be walking around on the sideline? Was I in any danger? So once we ascertained that, I was shut down from coaching to try to make sure my blood pressure was under control. And from there, I had an angiogram. I believe that was on the Monday after the VCU game. And that was an interesting experience. But that was just exploratory to make sure of my diagnosis, which, as you can see, is arterial dissection. So I'll let you guys look that up. You can have all the fun you want with that. But the best part about this for me medically is when they tell you that all you need is some medication, some rest, and maintain a normal blood pressure. For 99% of the people that would walk out of the doctor's office, that's a great thing. Except when you're a college basketball coach or football coach. I watched Urban Meyer throw his headset last night, and I said, see, that's what I can't do that right now. So maintaining a normal blood pressure is not really conducive to running up and down the practice court, encouraging guys, and obviously bringing intensity at a high level every day on the court, or obviously at the game as well. And then, I don't know one college coach that gets any rest during the months of January, February, and March. So it's not that I'm not going to an island for the next 3 months, and I will be. I've been at work every day since the 26th, helping the guys, helping the staff, implementing the game plan for North Carolina State. Allowed me to work ahead while they're traveling, start watching film on SMU. And I've had extensive meetings with my doctors, in particular, Norberto, my new friend, Dr. Andaluz, is my main neurology doctor. I'm sure he's got multiple titles that I don't know. He's much more educated than myself. So about explaining what it is I do, what my job entails, what they want me to do, what they don't want me to do. And like I said to you, I can't be overworked. I don't need overwork. I don't need overstress, and I need to try to maintain a normal blood pressure. So watching the game is my biggest problem. During the game, so if you see some of my neighbors saw me taking a walk during the NC State game a few times if I felt myself maybe getting too anxious. But it's not that I'm in danger. It's just for me, I have a goal that they've given me that in 3 months that I'll be reevaluated the same way I was 10 days ago. And my goal is obviously to be 100% healthy. They believe that if I follow orders, there's a high chance I'll be onward and upward. Won't ever have to deal with it again the rest of my life. So, with that, I got to be smart enough to listen. You talk to your players all the time about things, and now when it's on you, it's a little bit different. And you say, well, you can't, like we always say, well, you can't just win with toughness. Well, in my case, as for some of you that travel with us, like Dan's here, Dan's seen me with 2 IVs in my arms with the stomach flu and coaching a game that night. This is when toughness isn't the answer on this. I got to be intelligent. So I got to listen to some of the things and practice some of the things that I preach with my players. And I intend to have fun with my new role. My goal is to make Larry Davis Coach of the Year in the American Conference. And do everything I can analytically to help the guys. And, our team, for that message, with why today, why announcements, what I've been trying to do is time things not to distract our team. In my mind, I already cost us 1 game with the way everything had to go down before the VCU game. We really left the guys with no chance that day with the way I had to tell them I couldn't coach the game almost an hour before the game. So I didn't want that to happen again. So for me, they know this is a high possibility. My line to them is I'm Pat Riley with no rings, no hair, and no tan. But I'm still in charge. They see me every day. I meet with them before practice or after practice. Right now, obviously, sitting in practice it is I don't think it's the right move right now for me. Neither do my doctors. And also, I think my goal is, and I talked to the team about this, is they got to get used to Larry running the team, Darren, Savino, obviously. In my opinion, I got 2 head coaches on my staff already, and Antoine's a tremendous developing coach. This is when you reap the benefits of having a great staff. I've always bragged. I got Darren. I'm older than Darren by maybe 6 weeks, but Antoine and Larry are older than me. I've tried to be smart about hiring a great staff and not being insecure with who you hire and trying to get the best people that you can get. And this is obviously a time where hopefully we're going to reap the benefits of it. I think you already saw that in the NC State game. And, the way we talk about things with our guys is we don't win because of the coach. That's not why you win. You win because of the way you play, and you win because of the players. We talk all the time about the guy like Jim Boeheim or Jim Calhoun, Rick Pitino. Guys been around. They don't have the same record every year. Their record changes because their players change. And winning is a decision that a team makes. And the players on the team make that decision to play team basketball. And that's what we stand for. And it's obviously going to be a little bit challenged right now to see how much we actually stand for that. And my message to the guys, our goals have not changed. Obviously, you guys know we had a young team this year. We're going to have to develop. We're going to have to get better as the year goes on, have some ups and downs. It's just Larry, Darren, and Antoine, and Mark Berger now during practice carrying out that message. It's the same message, the message not changing at all. Allows me, while they're at practice, I'm sitting in my office doing more analysis, going back to an old role I had years ago. And I've already started to enjoy that part of it because I don't have to do a lot of this. So the 3 hardest parts of my job would be, on the court coaching, practice, on the court coaching, game, and travel. So those 3 are eliminated for me, which allow me to get rest, reduce stress, keep a normal blood pressure. But it's not like I'm going to start hanging out at Doc's house smoking cigars. I mean, still have a normal routine, and I've talked it out extensively. That, like I said, our the medical people involved in this, whether it's my team doctor, Mike Donalworth, and Rob Williams, our trainer, just everybody involved has been tremendous for me. But to be able to have the conversations I've had candidly with Norberto Andaluz, who's my primary neurologist, of, here's what I do on a daily basis. where he can say that's too much. That's I told him when he watches his press conference, don't get nervous. Think that hey, you're going to be in the I'm not going to go to the office 16 hours a day. I'll be smart enough to do what I need to do. I can still recruit. It's not stressful to watch a high school game. We don't care who wins and loses. We just hope the guy we're there to see doesn't get in foul trouble, so we can actually see him play the whole game, or they don't play two guys around the guy and he never touches the ball. So still be running the program, just in a different role, like I said, and it's kind of been that way since the 26th. And I just got to be smart about the situation. And medically, so my goal is in 11 weeks I get reevaluated, and hopefully the small what they call flap in their terms that I have in my artery wall is healed and scarred over and onward and upward. And I know you guys are going to ask what caused it. They don't know that. Usually in a case like mine, it would be more head trauma, hockey players. But they really don't know. So when you're in my case, you try to think about. You go through something like this, you evaluate how much, how do you eat, your diet, your rest. You evaluate everything. It could just be as simple as genetics. The way I look at it is I'm extremely lucky that I was able to get headaches that were bad enough that had our team doctors made sure that they could see that it was more than normal for me, and they pushed me. Coaches, we can be hard-headed. So, I owe a big debt of gratitude to them because they pushed me to make sure that I went and got a CAT scan and tried to really get to the bottom of what was going on. Because really, I'd have probably just worried about the next game and taking a couple of Advil. But I'm sure you guys got some questions on this stuff. I'll do my best. Again, I'm not a brain surgeon, but I've been hanging out with them.
So, Coach, no other restrictions for you, and you're feeling, you look good.
I feel great. Yes, so that's why I said it's important for me to get up here in front of everybody, because I walked into a few restaurants and people started cheering. Now, a couple guys were booing, but they were wearing blue and they had some X thing. Now, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
Towards the end of the San Diego State game, and maybe we're overanalyzing this, but they cut to you, maybe it was the refs, but you had a very pained look on your face. Did you feel at all any compromise at all?
It could have been the call. Tough to say. I don't see, you could show me, but I could tell you I was definitely experiencing headaches. I wasn't, what was confusing, everybody's in Cincinnati's been battling the flu off and on. So I was battling that from the Nebraska game on, but that went away, and all that was left was the headache. So for me, that definitely was going on during the San Diego. I haven't seen that. I still, my policy, I got better things to do. Don't take it wrong that I don't really follow that stuff, but I don't mean anything by it. But I watch more SpongeBob than I follow Twitter.
Just for clarity, nothing invasive, no surgery required?
No, the hardest thing for me, and this is why I'm happy about today, is answering questions and making sure everybody knows you're okay. Obviously, I have a daughter, so I don't, she starts school again Monday. And I'm going to drop her off just like normal in Carline at Mercy Montessori and, make sure that, people aren't scaring her. So fortunately for me, she's been with her mother at her mother's family for the holidays this year. It's an every other year situation. So she hasn't had to go through this. I can give you bring levity to the situation. She made this real. She by far had the fastest diagnosis, and was 100% right. She knew. I told her I had headaches. She said, "Dad, I don't understand this. If you have a headache, just don't coach. Then you don't have to scream and yell." So there it is. She also said cancel the games, which I told her I couldn't do that.
You're making this sound relatively easy, Nick.
Well, it's not. I'm not going to lie, yeah. It's tough. Try sitting on the couch while we're playing NC State at home. And I was wondering if any of my neighbors noticed as I kept going out and walk around the house. And, I'm really not, I don't know if Norberto really wants me watching the game. I have to explain to him that I'm not yelling at the television. I'm not throwing things at every call. A big part of my recovery is to try to make sure to help my blood vessel wall heal is maintain a normal blood pressure. So that means I can't drive, which the way some people drive and cut you off. I'm just kidding. You know what I'm saying. That's a big part of it. So that's the hardest part of it, because I'd like to go to practice right now. You know, and for me, it's not going to be easy. I'm well aware of that. But what I want my team to know is we're not going to take this as an excuse, because it's about the guys. At the end of the day, this is Jermaine Sanders. G-Lon's going through a tough year because he's got an unusual injury to his finger where he can't shoot, he can't catch the ball. But, you know, Jermaine Sanders, I mean, this is his last year. Yeah, you know, it's not, from what, I'm dealing with some pretty smart people that tell me if I'm smart, they expect this to heal. Very fortunate without surgery. But it's their last year, and that's what I want to be the focus to be on. Plus, we've worked really hard to get to where we're at with this program. We got a great young team that's going to continue to develop. We got recruits coming in, and this is obviously a little unusual, but it could be a lot worse is how I look at it. I mean, I got plenty of examples, Doc. You got Lauren Hill and Devin Still's daughter. I mean, when you really think about it, when you walk out of there, you walk out of a neurosurgeon's office and they tell you you just need a little rest, take a little blood pressure medicine just to be safe, even though my blood pressure is low, other than when I'm coaching. I mean, that's a pretty good diagnosis. You know, I'm sure almost everybody would walk out of there happy with that diagnosis. But for me, obviously, it's not being able to coach. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to lie. That's going to be a tough one. I heard Jerry West, I think I read in his book, that he used to drive around the 405 during the Laker games back in the day when he was the GM of the Lakers, because he couldn't stand to watch it at times. So, you know, that part of it will be tough. But I understand we're not going to win every game, and I'm just going to try to focus on helping to continue the development of our team and our program as I can analytically. But I got to be smart. You know, if I'm having days where maybe I'm feeling tired, or it's going to be unusual, because I'm used to being tired, used to being overworked in January and February, you know, used to being around the team in the gym. It's not easy. Like yesterday, met with the team, talked about what, you know, they won the NC State game with great preparation. You know, it was all positive, but we got a quick turnaround and a big game coming up. They go to practice and I got to walk out. I mean, that's not easy. But, you know, I can walk up to my office and watch film. I just try to focus on the positive. It could be a lot worse.
Toward the end of the San Diego State game, there was a kind of a phantom call that might have upset you somewhat. In fact, you were going crazy. In retrospect, have you thought about those moments in connection with what you had going on in your head? I mean, the blood pressure could not have been any higher at that.
Yeah, you know, I just obviously, yeah, sure. You thank God I had symptoms. Really, with me, it's thank God I had the symptoms of the headaches, because the more you know about people. Because technically I don't have an aneurysm. I have an arterial dissection. But, you know, we're splitting hairs. At the end of the day, when you talk, like I talked to Bob Wenzel, who was in town to do Xavier's game the other night, and he went down with an exploded aneurysm during a game. You know, and you know, so many people, you hear so many stories about stuff like that. You know, so fortunately for myself, I had symptoms.
Do you anticipate, when you do come back healthy next year, you have to change?
I was wondering if somebody was going to ask me that. You know, I think it'd only be natural. First of all, it never hurts to mature. You know, but then you think, you know, I think about guys like Greg Popovich, who, you know, has been known as the best in our business. He still gets pretty upset at times. And I've had, like I said, I've had candid discussions with my doctors about, and flat out asked them, you know, what, you know, do I need to seek another profession? And like I said, you know, one of them started laughing, talking about, well, you're going to be able to drive, and people, you know, you get upset all different ways. But no, they don't know why this stuff like this happens. It's not because I was yelled at a referee. It could be a multitude of different things. You know, one of our specialists thinks it has his opinions. You know, these guys are smarter than smart of the length of arteries. You know, there's so many different things. But no, they don't. They think I'll be fine. But the one good thing about these guys, they don't care who I am, and they would tell me. And I've asked them to be 100% honest with me. So no, they don't think that that's the case. You know, once I'm healthy, it is, you know, onward and upward. But it probably would be conducive to all coaches if we got a little more rest and maybe didn't blow as many gaskets. But
Who from the coaching community has reached out to you since?
it's maybe who hasn't. Yeah, and that's where why I'm here. I apologize. I haven't had a chance to get back to anybody, or to everybody. Excuse me. It's too many people. It's just way too many people. Some people are that I'm extremely close with, like Rick Pitino, and Kevin Willard, that give me no choice. They're going to call until I pick it up. And then, with what I've asked the staff to do is, make sure that they spread the word I'm okay. But it was important. That's why I wanted to get here, because I need to eliminate phone calls. I need to eliminate phone calls. I need to eliminate any doubt of what the situation is.
Mick, can you describe the meeting the morning of the VCU game when you didn't have the answers?
It was that whole time period was so unusual, because you have two focuses: one, your health, and two, I changed some things. If I had it to do over, and I'd have known what I was obviously hoping that when I got out of an MRI tube at midnight, our medical community. I had specialists that were reading my MRIs and MRAs at midnight on Friday night, on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Which I really appreciate. But obviously, I was hoping they would, being who you are, you're hoping they're going to say, hey, you're all right, go ahead, coach the game, and you just move on. But if I was a little bit smarter, I probably should have said, listen, I'm going to just take the next 3 days and get evaluated, let the staff prepare for VCU and coach the game, and that way we would have had a better chance. But again, you're not thinking. The last thing you're thinking is that you're going to get ruled out. So it was like I was told I can't coach, and then like literally I had to meet with the staff and then the team. So while I was driving in that morning for the game, so because it was an early game, so it was just really wasn't much time to think about it. I just wanted to get the guys. I'd say, hey, I'm going to be okay, but I can't coach, which I'm sure they didn't believe me. I know my coaches didn't believe me. I think my coaches were probably being a little bit older and knowing you're talking about stuff in somebody's head. They were. Now, that being said, VCU played really well. I watched the game, and they got a good team. So I don't know if we had come off cloud 9 from the win against San Diego State, because we got a team that hasn't been through this whole grind together. So like that's our challenge this week. My from my new title as president and GM was you got to be able to handle success. It was obviously a great game the other day on the road and under tough circumstances, but the circumstances aren't the issue, and that's why I want to eliminate my health situation. It's about our season from here on out. I can help Larry and do the radio show with you. That makes it easier on Larry, because obviously with Larry and Darren and Antoine, this is going to be a lot harder for them. But I'm still with them analytically. From a game prep and analysis and stuff, but yeah, it was different.
Do you sense that Larry may inadvertently walk on eggshells around you? When you explain
No, see, that's the thing about Larry. We've been friends for 25 years, and that's why I told the guys from day, I'm not going to be in. You gotta let these guys coach, and Larry's got to be Larry. He's been a head coach for 9 years, and he's comfortable with who he is. He tells a few more stories than I do, so the guys are going to have to get used to that. My goal is to make Larry coach of the year. That's Darren, Antoine, the rest of us. Our goal is all to make Larry coach of the year in the American. And again, This could be a lot worse, so I'm taking the positive from it. And you know, like I said, you know, Larry and I are extremely close. We laughed about it the other day. So, you know, what haven't we been through here together? Like, we went back all the way back to Hernal Hall being declared ineligible, to Mike Williams' Achilles, snapping his Achilles, to Kashmir Wright's going to help us, and we were desperate. And then he comes in his freshman year and tears his ACL. You know, from AD, you know, changing ADs and presidents. I mean, Larry and I have been through a lot here. So, you know, this is just minor. They just get to hear, guys get to hear his voice. And, you know, we have a really close staff. So we coach as a staff anyway. If you were, you know, the people that have been in our practices, those guys coach. It's not like they just stand there. So, you know, I want, the guy's he's got to be himself. You know, like he's calling me 2 hours before the NC State game. Are you got any last second reminders? And said, you got to be yourself. You know, you got to you know, I'm not going to second guess him. See, advantage, he has a guy that gets second guessed for a living. So I know what not to do to him. So my goal is to make him as comfortable as I can, and make this as easy as I can on everybody involved.
So, Coach, it sounds like you have to self-monitor. So what is your confidence about your self-limiter, you know, as you watch the game tomorrow and then the other game?
Well, technically, I may not watch it, because Norberto might be listening to this, my new friend. Dr. Andaluz may be listening to this. So, you know, I have Xanax in case I need it to take. You know, I'm not a big pill guy. So for me, taking a blood pressure pill is new, you know, and an aspirin. But you got to be smart. You know, I would like to think, for me, you got to remember, I have a daughter. You know, so for me, she needs her dad, you know, to be healthy and around. So, also, you know, Dan's with me a lot. You know, I kid around a lot about, you know, people that go to games and yell. Nobody hears you. So nobody's going to hear me. You know, so as I'm there, you know, so people know, yeah, I could be at the game, but that would just make it harder on me, you know, from maintaining a normal BP standpoint. And I may have to adjust. I don't know. I mean, I may have to go for walks, may have to shut it off. My sister does an interesting one. She DVR, because she's busy and she's an intellectual. She's a dean of students at Summit Country Day. She goes, just do what I do. I DVR all the games. That way I know if you won. When I go back and watch it, I don't get upset. I said, I don't think that's going to work.
We have time for about one more question, if there are any.
Well, I'll ask it. So your players.
Yes.
When you told your players as the final, you know, what was going to happen over the next 3 months, how did they respond? How did they react?
Well, they know kind of what's going on, and they've known. But my message to them has been, no matter who's standing here, like the way we do things, it's not about whether I'm standing there or not. Like that doesn't determine the outcome. And this isn't new for us. Like we preach that all the time, that they decide the outcome. That each team every year is different. Their development is going to be based off of their commitment, their performance, their preparation. And what they do one game won't carry over to the next. They have to continue to do it, just grind it out, stay focused. And my goal is to get this over with and you know, not press my doctors, hey, can you check me out sooner so I can get back? I mean, pretty much in my case, it's a minimum of 3 months, and they're hoping, because I have a slighter tear in my dissection, that's the case. And obviously, I'm going to take that as my goal is I'm getting back in the fastest time possible. But you know, for them, I don't want them. I don't want this to be any excuse at all for them to hinder our development as a team this year, or their individual development. You know, the hardest thing for me would be Jermaine Sanders and G. Now G's out, and it's really tough on G. But you know, I still get I still text the guys, you know, trying to pump them up before the game. If anything, you know, it's going to make me a lot more positive because I don't see any of the bad stuff at practice. You know, it's going to be, you know, I just try to focus on their mental state and making sure that they're help them grind through this process. because we have a new team this year, and they really haven't been through this as a group. But you know how they're going to react. I can tell you this: it's not going to be our crutch. It's not going to be our excuse as a program of what goes on during our season this year. That's my message to them, because they have more than capable guys that are coaching them on every dribble, every pass, every defensive rotation. And I can still sit in meetings with them and analytically show them stuff, so it's not like I'm going to be totally detached. Right now, I'm not doing that 'cause I want them to get used to Larry being in charge and Darren being more assertive and Antoine being more assertive. But I definitely don't want them to think in any way, shape, or form that this should be at all an excuse for the outcome of our season and the development of our team.
Really, the truth is, with Bill Cook moving on, you just
Yeah.
can't bear with him.
You know, I figured if Bill was going off into the sunset, you know, the question is, I'll leave you with this, is am I going to have to reapply for my job like everybody at the Enquirer?
Came out well, though.
You like that? Hey, like I said, my job's make Larry Coach of the Year, and you know, my feeling is I was lucky when he came with me. The only reason Larry came, he was highly successful, guys, at Furman. He was just underpaid. I was able to give him a huge raise to come here with me. You know, and the only reason Darren Savino is here with me is because he doesn't apply for jobs. You know, and Antoine Jackson got started later in coaching. So the strength of our staff, I think you're going to see how strong these guys are. But I appreciate it. I know Larry, you guys might want to hit Larry. Get him used to this. Bang him out. Thanks.